Hello, my dear students. How are you? I hope you all are fine. On today, I am going to present new topic, but in different system, that is in central nervous system, and the name of topic is properties of reflexes. First of all, our learning objectives. To understand the functional components of reflex arc, this is our first objective. Second, to explain the properties of reflex. So first of all, what is reflex? Reflex is a mechanism by which sensory impulses is automatically converted into motor effect with the help of involvement of CNS. Okay, so sensory impulses are there which is automatically converted into motor effect but with the help of CNS. This is a simple definition of reflex. Now there is a law called Bell-Megendy law. What this law states that in the spinal cord, the dorsal or posterior roots entering into spinal cord is sensory, and the ventral root or anterior root emerging from the spinal cord is motor. This is known as Bell-Megendy law, or you can say one-way conduction. What is reflex arc? Pathway for any reflex action is known as reflex arc. Reflex arc consists of following things. Number one, afferent limbs. Afferent limb consists of receptor and afferent or sensory nerve. Then efferent limb, which consists of motor nerve and effector organ, that is in skeletal muscle. And the center. Center is the part of CNS where afferent limb either synapses directly with the motor or establish connection to the efferent neuron via intermediate or intercalated neurons. This is our one reflex arc. This is having receptors. From receptor, sensory or afferent nerve arrives. It goes into spinal cord. In this reflex arc, there is an intermediate neuron seen, which is interneuron, also called as interneuron, and then motor. Motor emerging out from spinal cord, and it supplies to the effector to our muscles. So this is a complete reflex arc. Simple. Now coming on to the properties of reflexes. Now first of all, note down all the properties of reflexes. This is very important question about the in the short notes. Many times it has been asked in the examination, properties of reflexes. So first of all, note down all these properties. Number one, adequate stimuli, delay, spatial and temporal summation, occlusion, subliminal fringe, irradiation, final common pathway, facilitation, inhibition, after discharge, fatigue, fractionation, habituation and sensitization. These are some main properties of reflex. So we will discuss one by one. We will take and discuss each and every property of reflex. So let us begin with the adequate stimuli or adequate stimulus. Adequate stimulus means precise stimulus. The stimulus should be precise, pinpoint, and it has to be adequate. So one example is scratch reflex in dog, which is initiated only by multiple linear touch stimuli putting on a same point again and again, and then it will be established a scratch reflex. If multiple touch stimuli are widely spreaded, then reflex is not initiated. Okay, so it should be precise. That is why it is called adequate. Adequate stimuli is required to initiate a reflex. Second property, delay. This property I think you all are familiar with. There is some interval between application of stimuli and initiation of response, and that interval is called as delay. It is mainly due to synapses. Number of synapses, if the number of synapses are more will be the delay. If number of synapses are less, accordingly the delay time will be less. So therefore minimum in monosynaptic reflexes, and it is maximum, or you can say depends upon number of synapses involved in the arc, the length of delay. There is another term sometimes asked, that is, what is central delay? Central delay is nothing but a time lost in crossing the number of synapses, but in the central nervous system only. Okay? In the central nervous system, in the spinal cord or in the central nervous system, whatever time is lost in crossing or crossing that central nervous system, synapses of central nervous system is called central delay. So this is our second property. Now third property, spatial summation, temporal summation. Let us begin one by one. Temporal summation. Application of subminimal or subthreshold stimuli does not elicit response, but if second subminimal stimuli is applied in quick succession of time, if it is applied in quick succession of time, the response occurs because of summation of two EPSPs. This is called temporal summation. Now spatial summation. Spatial summation, when two subthreshold or subminimal stimuli applied simultaneously, means same time they are applying and they are situated very closely, the response is sum up and it will give the response. It is called as spatial summation. Next property is occlusion. Occlusion. Stimulation of two neighboring nerves simultaneously evokes lesser response than sum total of response obtained when each afferent nerve is separately stimulated. If these A and B are stimulated separately, the response should be like A plus B is equal to, it should be like 8 plus 8, 16. But in occlusion, it is seen that the response is A plus B is 13, not the 16. Because the three of them are common. Three of them are actually, they are occluded, occlusion zone. They are making a occlusion zone. That is why the response of two neighboring nerve simultaneously, the response is lesser than they are giving individual response. Means individual response is higher, collective response is lesser because of occlusion. Subliminal fringe. It is opposite to occlusion. When A and B nerve fiber are stimulated simultaneously with weak shock, the tension developed in the muscle is more than the sum total of tension developed. If A and B are stimulated, individual response, the nerve stimulating 3 neurons individually, 3. But if they are stimulated collectively, the response should be 3 plus 3, 6, but not in the subliminal fringe. The response is 9, more than the individual sum up. This is called subliminal fringe. Explanation of subliminal fringe. each afferent nerve on entering the spinal cord stimulates two group of neuron. One group is stimulated adequately, but some of the neurons are subminimally, which is not giving a response. So two such of nerve are stimulated when collectively. These some minimal response is added up and the response is, collective response is more. Okay, when both A and B are stimulated simultaneously, the action potential also develops in second neuron and therefore the response obtained is greater. This is called subliminal fringe. Next property is irradiation. When sensory stimulus is too strong, impulses spread to neighboring neuron in the center and produces wider response. If stimulus is too strong, then the impulses spread it to many neighboring neurons. And produces a wider response. It is called as irradiation. It is due to transmission of impulse through large number of collaterals of afferent and their interneurons. For example, when a weak pinprick on finger will produce a reflex movement of that finger only. But if the prick be too hard, the whole hand will jerk up due to irradiation. Next property, final common pathway. I have explained about one-way conduction, Bell-Wegener law, in which just remember the efferent pathway. Efferent pathway of reflex arc is found by alpha motor neurons. Alpha motor neuron supplies to extrafusal muscle fibers of skeletal muscle. So when all the neuronal influences affected muscular contraction and ultimately it goes through the alpha motor neurons. So final common pathway is always produced by alpha motor neurons. If they are stimulated, muscle will get contracted, if alpha get inhibited, muscle get inhibited. So therefore they called final common pathway. This is alpha motor neuron which supplying the extrafusal fiber, and it is called final common pathway. Whatever the influence are coming, they all finally has to be go through alpha motor neurons. That is why it is called final common affected pathway. Next property is facilitation. If reflex is elicited repeatedly at proper intervals, the response becomes progressively higher for few contraction. That is, each subsequent stimulate exert better effect than the previous one by reducing the resistance. This is called facilitation. Okay, so reflex is elicited repeatedly at proper intervals. Initially you will see for first few contraction response is progressively higher. This property is called facilitation. Inhibition. Now explanation by example. Withdrawal reflex. In withdrawal reflex, one example is touching any hot surface. Immediately person withdraw his hand from that injurious surface. So in withdrawal reflex, not only it involves the contraction of flexor, but relaxation of extensor muscle is also needed. So one group of muscles are contracting, other group of muscles are inhibiting. It is required for complete withdrawal, and for that you required inhibition property of reflexes. It is due to stimulation of inhibitory interneuron, which same time causes inhibition of the reciprocal inhibitory effect, that is inhibition of the opposite group of muscle. Okay, so sensory receptors giving information to the center, and in the center one group of muscle is contracting, and by the inhibitory neuron the other group of muscle is relaxing so that the withdrawal reflex completes. This is called inhibition property. You can see in this diagram, you are stimulating tendon of a muscle, you are giving stimuli. Stimuli are carried by sensory nerve towards the spinal cord, and then it goes to the center. In the center you are seeing that in response to that stimuli there is stimulation of efferent fibers which is supplying to flexor muscle. Same time there is an inhibitory neuron which inhibits the other group of muscle, that is to the extensor, so that the withdrawal reflex initiated. It is done by the property of inhibition. After discharge, this is next property. After discharge means continuation of response even after stimulus is over. It is called after discharge. This is due to discharge from center even after stoppage of stimulation. That is, motor neurons are stimulated through multiple internodal or intermediate pathways. Some of them take longer time to reach to the motor neurons. That is why even after cessation of stimuli, impulses travels to motor neurons for certain period of time, because lots of multiple internodal pathways are there. So it takes time to crossing them. So our response is, stimulus is over but our responses still continue. This is called after discharge. Next property is fatigue. Fatigue, you all are knowing, you have read in this in the skeletal muscle topic, property of fatigue. Same property of fatigue is also there in reflexes. If particular reflex is elicited repeatedly at frequent intervals, response becomes progressively, gradually slower down and then disappears altogether. This is due to fatigue. This is due to fatigue. The first site of fatigue is synapse, then the motor endings, and finally the muscle. Okay? These are the sites of fatigue. First site is synapse. Fractionation. When stimulus is directly applied to motor nerve, that is to the efferent of muscle, the amount of contraction is much higher than or in comparison to when the muscle is stimulated through a sensory nerve. What is the reason? It is due to phenomena of occlusion of motor neurons. When sensory nerve is stimulated, the afferent impulse or inputs fractionate to the motor neuron pool. That is, each input goes only to the part of motor neuron pool. As a result, number of motor neuron stimulation is lesser. Okay, so sum of impulses goes to motor neuronal pool. That is why some of the motor neuron is stimulated, the response is lesser. If you stimulate muscle via sensory nerve, but if you stimulate directly to the motor nerve, then this entire thing will get bypassed and the response is much higher. This is called fractionation. Now habituation and sensitization. When non-injurious stimulus is applied repeatedly, intensity of response becomes lesser or gradually declines and even ceases sometimes. This is called habituation. If continuously you are repeatedly non-injurious, you are giving stimuli, gradually the response becomes lesser and lesser or even ceases. This is habituation. Now what is sensitization? Sensitization, when noxious stimulus is repeatedly applied, there is intensification of response. It is known as sensitization. Okay? Habituation, response progressively decreases, but in sensitization, response progressively increases, intensified. This is called habituation versus sensitization. Okay.